webinar. A pleasure to have you all on, and I'm looking forward to presenting some more great life-changing content with you. And always contact me after the webinar. Just want to remind you that any questions you have throughout the presentation, type them into the question box, and I'll answer some during it, but also as well at the end we'll have some Q&A. Okay, but make sure you type in the questions as you think about them, because otherwise you might forget them. So type that in, that's important. So today the topic is about the truth about wheat, sugar and dairy. And these are three areas that are in the media quite a lot. We've heard a lot about them, and there's a lot of conflicting information then as well, where I'm sure you're quite confused about whether you should be consuming them or whether you shouldn't be consuming them. So I'm looking forward, as I said, to share this information, share the truth with you. So once you implement what I've shared with you, it's going to make a huge impact. And this is where the world is at right now. Like an obesity epidemic is taking over the whole world. Before it used to be a case of mainly in America, but now Australia and New Zealand, and I see it here in Ireland especially, like obesity is growing and growing and growing. In the UK, of course, even parts of Europe where people even being overweight was quite a rarity, people are now becoming more and more obese. And also Asia, where again another area where people were typically very thin and in shape, again becoming more and more obese. So this is the reality of what's happening, and among other factors, what we're putting in our mouths is having a huge impact on this, and in particular things like wheat, sugar and dairy. And that's why all the different diets that are out there, they usually latch onto one or other of these, wheat, sugar or dairy, whether you should eat more of them, we should eat less of them. This is where the whole conflicting information comes in, and it's so confusing for you. But the reality is your food choice determine, your longevity, your health, how strong you are to prevent diseases. And the reality is that these are on the rise all the time, whether it be heart strokes, people getting cancer. But cancer now is the #1 killer pretty much all over the world in every country. So it's growing and growing despite billions and billions being invested. So, that begs the question, what exactly is it being invested in? And it's obviously not doing any good, because it's not slowing down the rate of increase where it has now become the #1 killer. Diabetes as well is on a massive rise, especially again among kids. Many kids these days who are maybe 6 or 7 or 8, or that kind of age group, are not even going to get to 20 years of age. They'll already be dead because of what they'll have contracted so young in their lives, and most of the others will have diabetes. Again, this is where these are all lifestyle diseases. No one has to get these things. Heart attack, strokes, cancer, diabetes, any of these illnesses, it's down to the way you're living your life. If you're not living your life the way you should do, and we're not making the right choices, then there's an increased chance of getting these. As I said, food is just one part. Food's a big part of it, but it's just one part. There's many others. And on the left hand, I've got the picture of the headstone. This is what we don't want. Would be for ourselves or loved ones. But it's against reality what will happen if you don't take care of yourself. So it's very important that, as always, with all information that we ever share on the webinars, or you ever hear that's good information, take control, take action, achieve results. That's the bottom line. That's what you can achieve. And it's very important for you to do these things. These are the 3 steps. Again, take control. And that's what this kind of information I'm going to share with you on the webinar will allow you to do. Take control, take action. So there's no point just listening to information. Make sure you go and do something with it, and then you will achieve positive results. And as always, the power rests with you. It is totally 100% up to you what you achieve in life, and then also 100% up to you what happens in terms of your health. It's very important for you to take care of your health, and make the right choices. So I promise you after this presentation is that you're going to understand the truth about wheat products, you understand the truth about sugar, you understand the truth about dairy products. You're going to be able to make an informed decision about these food sources and whether you want to have them or not, or continue with them in your daily nutrition plan right now. You will know the solution to increasing your longevity, increasing your chances of preventing killer diseases, and also how to accelerate your fat loss and skyrocket your energy levels, because each of these 3 food types have a massive impact on it. So let's start with wheat. Again, wheat is something that, especially I suppose the last 10, maybe 15 years, especially when Atkins came about, the whole Atkins diet and books like Wheat Belly. These are the kind of books that came out and questioned wheat and told people to stop consuming wheat, they should never consume it, how it was hugely related to the obesity epidemic that's there, and which cut out not just wheat but all carbs, because carbs are bad supposedly. And this is the problem with the information that's out there, whether it be diets, whether it be stuff you read online, whether it be books you read. It's not telling you the whole truth. It's telling you like a specific angle of it. It's not telling you the whole truth, and it's very important for you to read between the lines sometimes, and sometimes take information and use your own common sense to work out how valid it is. Something that's very important, because things like the Atkins diet are just so bad for you. Like, I just spoke to one of our boot camp members this evening, and one of her relatives had been on the Atkins diet, and two of her relatives actually, just saying how one of them looked absolutely horrendous despite losing 2 stone. Now, if you lose weight or get in better shape, you should look better. But the first thing is, with these kind of diets, that doesn't happen. Okay, because you're not losing the right kind of weight. Again, the goal is always to lose fat, okay, and gain muscle. Unfortunately, these kind of diets, you tend to lose a lot of muscle. So, you need to, as I said, read between the lines and focus on, deciding what is the right information. What's the right information here, whether wheat is good or bad for you. Now, the thing is, not all wheat is good for you. Wheat as well is not what it used to be. Wheat's a lot different grain than it used to be before. So you have to be a bit more careful. And one thing is trust in your body. Your body will tell you if something isn't right. You know when you eat something and you can feel it in your gut, feel it in your stomach, it's just not digesting properly. That's a sign that that's not right for you. Like, I know myself, if I eat certain types of bread, it will affect my stomach, and I know it's just not right. And every time I have them, it will. If I eat bread, then there's no problem. It digests perfect. Okay, so this is where you have to use, your body is amazing. It's an amazing machine, and it will tell you when something is wrong for it. So make sure you listen to it. That's very important. And the thing with the whole carb thing and wheat, it all depends on what kind. It's not just about wheat. It's not that wheat, blanket wheat is bad. It depends on what type of product you're talking about. Now, if you look at these two, both contain wheat, but both are very different. One is good wholemeal brown bread, all good natural ingredients, could even have some nuts and seeds in it. The other one is white bagels, could even be white flavored bagels. Not good for you. So very different, and very different in terms of the impact it'll have on your body. The brown bread will make you feel satisfied, give you sustained energy, overall just make you feel good. The white bagels are going to give, possibly give you a temporary high, but then within 30 minutes so you get an awful slump and you'll have no energy, and you just need another kick. And also it won't satisfy you. If you had a big tray of good wholemeal brown bread sandwiches, you're not going to eat many of them. But if you had bagels filled with something, you could go through 4 or 5 of them, no problem. No different than with white bread. So, it depends on the type of wheat. It depends on the use that's been made of it, okay? So this is what's very important. And this is where, with wheat in general and different products, glycemic index is one thing they need to look at. Because again, it's not just the wheat. It's like in Wheat Belly, the book, they're speaking a lot about the sugars in it and how it all converts to fat, and how you shouldn't eat the wheat and any wheat-derived products. And also, again, carbohydrates, which I do not agree with at all. You need carbohydrates. Your body needs carbohydrates to function and for energy and everything, and your brain does the same. So think about if you've ever had no carbohydrates, how you felt. You haven't felt much energy. You've had what you could call brain fog. So it is very important for you to consume these foods, but it's just how many of them you eat and quantities, and also what type. Like the white bread versus the brown bread. So very important for you to pick the right kinds of foods and get used to understanding the glycemic index. Now, again, this isn't a foolproof system either, but it gives you a bit of an indication. If you look here on the high glycemic index foods, which mean that it has a huge impact on your blood sugars. If we look at, for instance, bagels are high, puffed wheat, donuts, white bread, so they're all really high. Again, all wheat derived, okay? French bread, so all these different breads. And if you look over here then, again, that's oat bran, all bran, whole wheat spaghetti. We're just picking wheat or similar types of grains, because that's what you need to look at as well as the types of grains. It's low glycemic. So in general, what it means is just that when you consume it, the release on your blood sugars isn't as high. Like even here at the bottom here in the medium, whole wheat bread against a lot less than white bread and bagels and so on. So it has a lot less of an impact. Okay, and that's what that means. And it's very important for you to consume lower glycemic index foods as much as possible. Okay, and things again like wholemeal, whole proper foods. Like that's one guideline typically to use is what of them are real good food. Whole food. That's the key. Okay, so make sure you're looking at that and make your choices wisely for anything that's got wheat in it. Okay, and make sure so when you're reading the ingredients, look at the list of ingredients. If you've got a big massive list of ingredients, then it's not good. Okay, so it's important for you to have a list of ingredients that is actually food that you can actually recognize, because for a lot of products it's just full of E numbers and chemicals, and a lot of time you can't even pronounce or recognize what the words are. Okay, and that's all a sign again of lots of chemicals and everything being put into it. So be careful with that. So it depends again on what type of wheat. Okay, so what's closely tied to that then as well is the sugar, because a lot of the argument against wheat is because of the sugars that are in them, the natural sugars. But sugar in general, again, is it good, is it bad? Should you use substitutes for sugar, or should you use sugar itself? Now for me, what I would say to you is, generally you shouldn't have a lot of sugar. You shouldn't have much at all. It's a good thing to cut out. But if you're going to have it, go for the real thing. Don't go for the substitutes. The substitutes are not good. Usually a lot worse, and usually what they are is just again made from chemicals. And people get sucked in terms of calories, like different things that have no calories. So we take the way Coca-Cola, I can't remember how many spoons, there's maybe 10 or 12 spoons or something of sugar. So a lot of people then from that would think, God, I'm not having any of that. But I will have zero Coke because it has no calories in it and no sugar. Well, that's a big mistake, because the zero Coke has loads and loads of chemicals in it. Okay? And that's what's giving it the sweet flavor. It's replacing the Coke. So it's sometimes it's disguised. Okay? And also things like aspartame, for instance. Aspartame was used for many, many years as a sweetener in different products. But then it came to light the damaging effects of it, and the huge impact it was having on people's bodies. And even I know of someone who it actually started to put holes into their brain and cause them to almost die. They went through unbelievable illness, and their nervous system going into chaos and everything. So this is what aspartame. Now, aspartame started being taken out of products. However, what started happening was they started putting it into products, but as different names. There's actually 50 different names that you see in ingredients, 50 different words, and it's actually aspartame. But because it doesn't say aspartame, people don't think aspartame's in it, when it actually is. And that's again the scary thing about the food industry that we keep promoting with everybody. And we're always mentioning it on our webinars that to be very careful with the food industry, because it is a business and they just want to make money. Whatever will make money, they'll do. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. So you be very careful being aware of what's actually in your food. Ed, you're asking there about xylitol. If that's the one I'm thinking of, that seems to be one of the better sweeteners, a bit more natural. But I would still, in general, nearly say if someone's going to use 18 as a sweetener, just go for normal sugar, as close to the normal sugar grain as possible. And also, other options would be things like agave syrup. You could use that from a cactus plant. So use as natural sugar as you possibly can. All right. Now again, with sugars, people say, "Oh, sugar is bad for you. You shouldn't consume any sugar. It makes you fat." Big difference between different kinds of sugars. If you look at these, for example, here's two different kinds of sugars. Loads of sugars in both. You got loads of sugar in the banana. You got loads of sugar in the Mars bar. Okay, very different the impact this has in your body. Banana, lots of good sugars your body will use for energy. Mars, lots of bad sugars that just get converted to fat. Okay, so again, you have to be aware of what is the difference between them. What are the different kinds of sugars? All right, because that's really important. It's not just all about just the sugars. as I said a while ago, reading food labels is very important. And again, it's not just all about calories. Like if you read here, someone to take this bar and you see 90 calories, I think, yeah, that's great. No, 90 calories is not too much. But let's look at the different ingredients, because again, that's the key thing for you to get used to reading. And you've got your fat too, 1 gram of saturated fat, so it's like 50% of it. Then you've got sodium, so you've got total carbohydrates 18, but 9 grams of them is sugars. So that's 50%. Okay? Now the other thing you need to do then is just look at the ingredients list to see what it's made out of. If the first few ingredients are all different fruits, well, that's telling you that's where the sugar is coming from, because that's a substantial enough amount of sugar. But if fruits aren't in the first few ingredients, then you know it's coming from an artificial type of sugar. So if you look at all of these, for instance, here's ingredients here. So you got like sugar, then malt flavoring, maltodextrin, corn syrup, sugar again, fructose sugar, maltodextrin, dextrose, sorbitol. These are all different types of sugars basically. And this is usually what is in these products when they're saying about sugars. Okay? And let me see here. Let me see, Ed's asking, I've seen 70% cocoa dark chocolate with xylitol and cane sugar. We're saying sugar in this case would be better. 70% cocoa dark chocolate with xylitol and cane sugar. So he's saying sugar in this case would be better. So is that I'm presuming that's a bar chocolate, or is it something that you like like a hot chocolate drink or something? The fact is 70% cocoa you can sell, because again 70% of the product is actually cocoa. So the percentage of the product in the xylitol or sugar or whatever it might be is, you know, it's only going to be a small amount. Okay, it's in here too. Oh yeah, xylitol and sugar. Okay, I get you. Much of a muchness, but I probably would go for like normal sugar. Okay, that's what I would go for anyway myself, Ed. So you need to again be careful about labels. You know, big part of it's labels. You know, understanding labels when you come to the whole sugar issue. Because if you don't understand the labels and what's in them, then you're going to end up eating the wrong products. You know, consuming lots of the bad sugars. Okay, like I said, the banana versus the Mars bar are very, very different. Okay, so it's important for you to make sure you get in the habit of reading food labels. Very important. So like I said, sugar, it's not all sugar. You know, there's lots of different kinds of sugar. It's like another really, really bad one at the moment that's in many, many products is high fructose corn syrup, even breads and everything. So if you are reading through the ingredients and you're seeing high fructose corn syrup, then get away from it. You know, stop taking that bread or product or whatever it might be, because this is really, really bad. Okay? So you want to get away from high fructose corn syrup, or when you see corn syrup itself, you know, these are not good for you. So make sure again to limit your exposure to them, limit how much of them you're consuming. Okay? So that's very important. Now, let's see what's next. Yeah, very common in the US for sure. Okay. Now, so that's where and wheat. Does everyone understand a bit more about wheat and sugar, and you know what they should be looking out for and what they shouldn't consume when it comes to wheat and sugar? Because like I said, it isn't that you shouldn't consume them. It depends on the type. Okay? That's the key thing. What is the type of sugar you're consuming, and what is the type of wheat? Because there's good and bad of both. Okay? Now next we're going to come to the big one, which is dairy. Okay, out of the three we had wheat, sugar, and dairy is by impacting one on your bodies, and it is the one that I'm going to say right from the start you need to kick into touch and get out of your nutrition plan, because it has a dramatic impact on your body in every way, both, you know, in many ways like disease prevention, also from your fat levels, your energy levels, all kinds of ways. So here's a quick picture here I want to show you. First picture I'm sure you think is pretty normal, but then when you look at the second picture, who's freaked out by the second picture? Who thinks the second picture looks normal? Let's get some water while you type it in. Okay, so a few of you are a bit freaked out by it. So, you know, again, this is the reality of what we're doing when we're consuming dairy, but we don't ever think about it, okay? we're actually taking the calf's milk from the cow, because that's what it is. Like, the cow feeds the calf the milk to nourish it and help it to grow and give it the energy and so on. Just like this mother here is doing with her baby, feeding the baby nourishing breast milk. So what we're doing, it's as if, this would be the reverse. The cow actually is suckling off a human breast, which we would be very disturbed by. Okay, but we're actually doing the same thing. We're actually suckling off a cow's breast. Okay, so it's important you start to see that and see that that's actually what we're doing when we're consuming dairy products, and we're not designed to. That's the bottom line. We're not designed to actually do this. Here's a cartoon I always think is pretty good in terms of hormones in meat and dairy. So that's another issue. It isn't just the issue of that we're not designed to consume it, but with the whole food industry and the way it's run, there's so much hormones put into the dairy and into the animals that's another issue that we take in as well. So we shouldn't consume it anyway. So when we do, we get the negative impact, but also we're getting all the hormones in now as well. That's being pumped in by the food industry to get cows to produce more and more and more milk. Okay, so this is where the danger is for you with your health, because when you're doing things like this, it isn't good for your health. It's not good for how your body reacts. It's not good for the fat levels, the energy levels, your prevention against disease, and so on. So it's very important for you to be careful with this. Be careful with how much you're consuming. Basically, milk contains a protein called casein, which contains calcium. Okay, these are bound together. Now, when you're a baby and getting breastfed, you're producing enzymes called renin and lactase. Okay, when you're over 3 years of age, you no longer produce these enzymes. Now, you have to ask yourself this: why does this happen? Why does it stop producing? Well, the reason it stops producing is because you're not meant to have it anymore. No one, like, I wouldn't go and get breast milk from my mother now. People would be freaked out by that if I went and I did do that. Even if I was 10 years of age, you'd be freaked out by it. Not to mind the age I'm at now. So we're actually the only species on the planet to drink milk as an adult. Not one other single mammal drinks it. Not even cows. Cows don't even drink their own milk. It's for the calf, that's it. So again, that's what we need to look at. It's for the calf, and it has a purpose for the calf. And it's not for us, it's not for even cows. So in terms of why we're different, like, it's for calves, as I said here, but also they have 4 stomachs. One way is, what they do is they'll weigh like 200 pounds at birth, and then 2 years later about 2,000 pounds. So the main reason for the milk for the calf is to help it to grow and develop. No different than look at how rapid the development is of a baby from when it's born, and the size of it, the weight of it being only a few pounds, to after a year of being breastfed. The growth is dramatic, and that's what it's for. Now we look at goat's milk, because sometimes people ask about goat's milk, isn't it better? It's a little better because they only have 1 stomach, so at least we're a little bit similar. But again, it's not for us. The goat doesn't drink its own milk, it gives it to the kid. Okay, so it's not meant for us. And another thing in terms of verboten, they contain high levels, very high levels of casein. Okay, this causes huge digestive issues, and big reason is because it's over 300 times that of human milk. So we're used to breast milk, but when we get cow's milk, it's 300 times the amount of casein of human breast milk. So obviously that's not going to be good for our system. People always ask, though, where am I going to get my calcium from? If I don't drink milk, where's my calcium coming from? Well, if you look at apes and look at elephants, and look at how powerful these animals are. Look at these apes on the left side. It's just muscle, pure muscle with hair in them. And look at the teeth they have. How much milk do they actually drink? And the answer is none. And do they have bones in the body? They do. Their bones are pretty damn strong. The same in an elephant. Look at the size of an elephant. What do these guys eat and drink? And certainly isn't their milk. The elephant doesn't drink its own milk either. It's again only for the baby. Okay, so again, see this with every single mammal, human as well. The milk is produced for the baby. Okay, and these animals are actually vegetarian. They eat just plant-based diets. So in terms of the calcium, where you're going to get it from is green leafy veg in particular. Broccoli, kale, and spinach. These types of foods. They're very good for calcium. They actually contain the most amount of calcium. So it makes a huge difference to consume them. These are the kind of foods you should have. And when people are asking about, where am I going to get my calcium from? That's where. And the role of calcium is to neutralize acid in the body. Okay. Now, this is another drawback of dairy. So when you eat acidic things, you're taking calcium out of your body. Okay. And calcium is stored in the bones and the teeth. And if you keep taking withdrawals out, you're going to end up with brittle bones and osteoporosis. And again, that's what's happening to people. The ironic thing about dairy products is, despite being told that you should consume lots of them because it's good for your bones, it actually takes calcium out of your bones because it's really, really acidic. Okay, so this is again the issue with the food industry. It's promoting what it's supposed to do, but the reality is it doesn't do that. So there's lots of lies in the food industry, unfortunately. Okay, it's just where people have to start wising up, and this is where people like yourselves need to be on webinars like this and learn the facts, learn what works, learn what you need to do to implement into your lifestyle to make it a healthier lifestyle. Also, it's a glue-like substance, and it's it sticks. It's mucus form, so things can't break down. So when you have this kind of mucus in your body, it's actually holding onto the good, onto the bad stuff that's trying to get out, from the toxins and so on, and it's also stopping the good stuff being processed around the body the way it should be. So a lot of people who are overweight and feel lethargic and are tired all the time have breathing issues, all digestive issues. A lot of time it's down to dairy products because the body can't function the way it's supposed to. Especially people with asthma. The difference of people with asthma when you cut out dairy is absolutely amazing. Like, I never had any breathing issues, so I thought. But when I gave up dairy, having researched it and learned a lot about it, and said I'd give it a go, I was amazed at the difference I felt in my breathing and my nasal passages. The clearness I had was just amazing. It was completely different. So, it makes a big difference if anyone's got breathing issues. Huge. Another thing is it's linked to pretty much every single disease or ailment that's out there, from acne, anxiety even, ADHD. Again, that's another thing we've seen. Any clients that have cut out dairy, whether it be with themselves or for their kids, ADHD has dropped dramatically. The immune function, IBS, colic, heart disease, diabetes, everything. It has an impact on everything. This is why, I'm actually spending a lot of time on the dairy, because I want to make sure you get this into your head and start making the right decision of moving away from it. The key thing always is making an informed decision. And this is why I want to put a lot of information towards you, because it's important you understand it. Okay, you understand the why. Here's some research at University Hospital in Lidköping in Sweden. Bronchial asthma patients whose condition was so severe that they required cortisone or other medication onto a pure vegetarian diet without eggs or dairy, so dairy-free. Results were very impressive. After 1 year, more than 90% of the patients who completed the project reported a major improvement in the severity and frequency of asthma attacks. Also, level of medication dosages dropped on average 50 to 90%. A number of patients were so improved they were able to discontinue medication altogether. Now that is huge. If you are someone who's taking medication at the moment, can you just imagine not having to take it anymore? This is huge. 34 published studies, 16 countries, at Yale research at Yale University. Countries with highest rates of osteoporosis, which include the US, Finland, and Sweden, were those where people consume the most meat, milk, and other animal products. So again, the dairy. Look at the impact the dairy is having. 40 million American women have osteoporosis. This is a stat that amazes me. Only 250,000 African women have. 250,000. Look at the size of the continent. Look at the size of the population. And also they supposedly have a very bad diet. Many of them are completely malnourished and so on. Yet only 250,000 of the females have osteoporosis. Whereas in America, an affluent country, 40 million have osteoporosis. In Kenya, 40 tribes there. In Tanzania has only one. The one in Tanzania has osteoporosis, called the Maasai tribe. Surprise, surprise, cattle-owning, milk-drinking tribe. So again, you can see again the difference. These are people who have nothing a lot of the time in Africa, and still look at the way the dairy product impacts their health. Let's see, so said already. Here's another one. African Bantu women taking only 350 milligrams of calcium per day, 9 children. To them for 2 years again. 2 years again. That's the cutoff. Never have calcium deficiency. Rated a tooth. Children grow up nice and strong. How can you do this in children? 50 milligrams of calcium a day when the recommendation is 12, and that again to get a lot of dairy into your system. So again, the reason they can is because they're getting in good, proper calcium, and they don't have the dairy products. They are consuming lots and lots of green leafy vegetables. Good point as well, Brian. Brian's just saying here, I doubt very much that there are many drive-through takeaways in Kenya and Tanzania. Exactly. Like that's what I'm saying. Like nutrition is such a huge role to play in all of this, and we're putting the focus on wheat, sugar, and dairy here. But yeah, all these different things have a huge impact. But even look at takeaways, and shakes, or milkshakes, and everything. Like it's all dairy, McFlurries. Also, I'm sure the buns contains whey. It's an ingredient that's used now in many products because it's cheap. And whey is a derivative of milk. In terms of cancer, there's a huge link between cancer and dairy products and the rate of cancer that people have. So you see here a positive association for some measure of dairy products and prostate cancer. So it's one of the most consistent dietary predictors for prostate cancer in the published literature. Okay, so this is pretty shocking. This is where people with cancer, or just for you to be aware, if you were ever, God forbid, to contract cancer, this is something you have to give up. And even from a preventative measure, because we always seem to focus on treatment and cure, let's start focusing on prevention. From your own point of view, use this information to make the changes to your nutrition plan. Start cutting down dairy at least, if cutting it out is a bit too extreme for you. Start moving in the right direction. This is another important thing for disease, in particular with cancer. Anything that's acidic will cause cancer cells to thrive, okay? And basically, cow's milk is very acidic. And casein is really acidic. It's a part of cow's milk as well. So it's going to thrive. So if you're taking casein into your body or any kind of dairy products, it's going to cause it to thrive. So the first thing anyone needs to do if they get cancer is to give up the dairy products. Really important. Let's look at diabetes. Diet has a huge impact on this. People always look at the genetic side of things, but look, diet has a huge thing. So here's one study. Cow's milk consumption in children 0 to 14 years in 12 countries. There was a perfect correlation with type 1 diabetes. Greater consumption of cow's milk, greater prevalence of type 1 diabetes. Finland, type 1 diabetes is 36 times more common than in Japan. 36 times. But look at the difference in the consumption. Now, as Japan and Asia in general start to increase the consumption of a more based diet, you will see that number decrease. Also, you can see any of the Asians who go to America in particular, they start to become obese because of what they're consuming, and dairy is a big part of that. So just here's a few alternatives. If you want to look at some dairy-free products, here's some yogurts that I'd use. You've got soy milk, then it's milks. You've got rice milk. Also things like oat milks and nut milks and spelt milk. Here's one of the brands of cheese that we'd use when we've eaten cheese. Again, dairy-free. All right, so it's just to make these changes. Like again, it's important just to have the right substitutes, because if you cut something out, it's important you put something back in, to replace it. Like if you're not eating dairy products, make sure you're eating lots of green leafy vegetables, like again your broccoli and kale and spinach, because it's important to get your calcium. Okay, or like these, it'd be fortified with extra calcium, like the rice streams is very big that way. So you get the calcium in extra on these kind of products. So let's substitute dairy consumption of dairy. Why is that? Shouldn't I be listening to them? Well, the answer is no, because doctors actually only have 1 hour or 2 hours, something like that, of education on nutrition in their whole 7 years in medical school. And that training that they get is totally outdated, and it was even outdated 20 years ago when it was first drawn up. So it's the same information now as it used to be back then. And also that whole industry, like doctors and pharmacists and so on, the food industry, they're all conditioned, they're all linked together, but the doctors, a lot of them are conditioned and brainwashed into thinking that the dairy products are good for you. But the thing is, they don't know any different. They don't know the real information. They're only recommending on what they're being told is right. Okay? So it's really important for you to, again, keep educating yourself, and with the doctors, take no notice of what you're saying for dairy products and the recommendations, because they are not true. And why did it, what about the dairy council in general? Why is it cow's milk? Why isn't it been gorilla or elephant? Because you don't see that happening. Well, cows produce a large quantity of milk and they're very easily housed and they're a lot easier animals to manage than say elephants or um, gorillas, for instance. Imagine trying to control a lot of gorillas and get as much milk out of them as you can. It can be a pretty crazy sight. Also, cows are all over the world, whereas things like gorillas, elephants are only in certain countries. Okay, so it's a way of the whole world consuming lots of dairy. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, brilliant marketing, huge marketing, and you can see it in the adverts. Like in Ireland, there's the advert in bones and bones and calcium, but that's an advert I've seen has come back onto the TV in recent times because, again, it's an industry that it needs a bit of a pep up because people are becoming more and more aware of alternative foods and the importance of going dairy free and things like that. Another thing, actually, the addictive side of it, milk and butter and cheese in particular, actually contains properties of heroin. So heroin's a highly addictive drug. That's where cheese becomes very addictive because it actually has parts of it that's similar to heroin. So the bottom line is it's your choice. It's your choice what way you go, what you consume, what you decide to do with things like wheat and sugar and dairy. Like I've explained throughout the presentation, how important it is that you look at the type of wheat you consume. So it isn't all wheat's bad, it's not. What type of wheat you're consuming, and make sure it gets proper, good quality wheat, and things like good brown bread versus eating white bagels. Also, like the sugar, which is linked closely to wheat being a carbohydrate. Get the type of sugar. Make sure it's as natural as it can be, and also, make sure most of the time the sugar is from the fruit that might be in the products. Okay, but stay as natural as you possibly can, and become more aware of the glycemic index as well, because that's important. In dairy products, like I've said, dairy products you need to start kicking them into touch ASAP. But by making these kind of changes, even this evening, tonight, depending on where you are in the world and what time it is with you right now, by making the changes now, you're going to make a dramatic difference to your energy. I've shown you how to make a difference to your disease prevention, like in particular cancer and diabetes. All of these different things is going to have a very positive impact. It's important for you to take the right action in order to do so. Okay? Because, again, the obesity is crazy all over the world. Whether kids, whether it be males, whether it be females, it's a huge epidemic. And you don't want to become another statistic of heart attacks or cancer or diabetes or deceased. And this is where the power rests with you. And this is where, like I said, you have the choice. So it's up to you where your life goes. It's up to you, your destiny and how much a role genetics is going to play in your life, because it doesn't have to. People are always told and afraid that their genetics determine how their body, how their body reacts and whether they get diseases or not. But that's not true. It's totally up to you. Okay, so before we go into a bit of Q&A, because I'm sure some of you have got a few more questions. I know we answered some during the webinar, but before you have any more questions, which you can start typing in, start typing any questions you have into the question box now. I just want to give you a special offer that I've been doing the last few webinars, which a few of you have been on. It's in relation to my Dave Sheehan home workout system. It's the ultimate home workout system that you will get anywhere in the world. It's unbelievably complete, combined with 36 different workouts, full 6-week laid out program, hundreds of recipes, hours and hours of motivational footage and education on exercise, nutrition and sleep, loads and loads of things that you get access to. And you can get access to this. Here's some of our transformations, some of our success stories. And here's Rick. This is just after 6 weeks. Sherry Scott in California, after a couple of months, she lost 22 pounds, 19 inches. But the thing here was, she was a lady who was barely able to move. She was in so much pain when she decided to join her program. She saw the results of someone she knew who was on her program and decided to give it a go. And this is another unique part of our program. We give her a specific modified version of her routines to follow, because she wasn't able to do the actual routines in the videos. We gave her modified, and she was able to get the results that she wanted. And now she lives a very vibrant life. After 12 days, here's the difference in Dave. 12 days. Here's Kim, someone who never exercised before, apart from doing a bit of walking, and in her late 50s. Look at the difference. This is in 6 weeks. This is the power of this program, and Also, it's not just about fast results, it's about lifelong results. Like, we focus all the time on getting long-term results, but in the fastest time as well. So you can get this for only $97. This is the price of our home workout system. This is the price of it. You can get it there. It's a special I'm offering you on this call, because what you can also get is, or what you will get once you sign up, is you'll get 2 tickets to our next Format for Success live event, which takes place in Dublin, October 4th to 6th. This allows you to get a peek behind the curtain of what we do with Format for Success and what we do with our coaching clients. And our last event was in March, and I'm sure people who attended will testify to say it was truly amazing and has made a dramatic impact in their lives. I know some of the attendees are actually even on the call right now. And it's a full 3-day boot camp, full 3 days where you get coached by myself and some other top experts from around the world. But also you get to experience Dacian home workout system workouts live. We do the workouts throughout the weekend. We also have yoga sessions. We do lots of different workshops and workouts and seminars. So you can get the most out of you. So you can live by our formula for success and take positive strides forward all the time and turn your dreams into reality. So if you want to sign up for Dacian home workout system, and it's only for people on the webinar that have access to this offer. If you want to sign up for it, then just go to the link you see on the screen, which I'm also going to type into the question box. So you can just directly click the link and go to it. So just click the link, go and sign up, and I look forward to having you as a member of our program, becoming another huge success story, and also importantly seeing you at our event. Tickets for those events actually are €197 each, so you're getting a value of just under €400, which is about $500, as well as lifetime access to Dacian home workout system, and all that for only $97. That's all you're having to pay, $97. It's a steal, it's crazy. We want to help as many people as we can all over the world. Alright guys, so let's see, any questions you might have either on what we covered on the call today or on the package. Any questions on anything? If you have, just type into the question box. And also any feedback is always great. What you thought of the webinar, that'd be brilliant. Okay, so just start typing them in. How long have you been on? Okay, so for myself, for me it was really like a 7-year journey. Like, we don't know. I'm actually vegan now for, what is it now, 17 months now actually. Yeah, full 17 months. And for the few years before that I was moving that direction. Okay, but 7 years ago I would have been a huge consumer of dairy products and meat products, because I came from a bodybuilding background, and that's what I did a lot of, and that was what you typically should be consuming if you want to get big and muscular and lean and so on. But the more I researched it, the more people I met and spoke to or read about who were living a more dairy-free, vegan-based lifestyle, the more it intrigued me and the more information I was reading that made sense. That's where I started to implement it myself. And like I said earlier, when I stopped having dairy products, the difference I felt in my nasal passages and my breathing was truly amazing. I was really shocked at the difference it had, because I didn't expect to feel any difference there. So that was huge for me. That made a massive, massive difference. And then just as I felt better, I started to move that direction. And also, as I did, dairy products started to taste worse and worse. Like even something I loved, like Ben & Jerry's, for instance. When I started eating less and less dairy products and less frequently, when I actually consumed, say, something like Ben & Jerry's, it tasted more and more sour and less tasty, whereas the dairy-free products were tasting even nicer. So, it's a gradual process, and this is where I always stress to people, move at the speed that you feel you can. The most important thing is that you make changes in the right direction. If you can make them all overnight, if you can do all the changes I've told you on this webinar and do them tonight and tomorrow, great. But reality for most people is they need to do them gradually. So, make the changes. That's the focus. You want to move in the right direction. Patrick, thanks for the positive comment. Donald, it's a heroin-like substance. Similar to heroin. Okay, there's an addictive substance in it. I don't know the exact name, but there's an addictive substance in cow's milk cheese in particular, and dairy in general, that makes it very addictive. And when you think about cheese, like very hard for people to not keep picking at cheese if they eat cheese. So there's something in it that's similar properties to heroin. Okay? Also really appreciate it, guys, if you go to this link. It's a registration link for our webinars. And it'd be great if you could put a comment there of what you thought about the webinar today. And if you've been on our webinars before, just in general, how you find them and why people should attend them, because again, that's how we can help. You can help us to get more and more people on our webinars, because it's through people like you we get more and more exposure and we can broaden our community. And again, if you want to sign up for David Sheehan Home Workout System and get the special bonus of 2 tickets to Format for taking place in Dublin 4th to 6th of October, then www.tiny.cc/system special. It's there in your question box if you want to click it and go and sign up. Okay, so everyone good? Just leaves me to say thank you so much for being on. As always, just want to congratulate you for taking time. You know, millions of people around the world should be on this and they're not. So, you know, I want to congratulate you for prioritizing you and your health and, you know, wanting to achieve more success and wanting to find out how to be more productive and healthy and fight disease. So be very proud of yourself for that. And just make sure you get on our webinars every Tuesday. Have that date in your diary. Every 10 o'clock. That's Irish time. Check your different time zones on the registration and the promo to see for your time zone. But make sure you have that in your diary and get on. And also, as I said, please spread the word. We'd really appreciate it. So once again, thanks for being on Performance for Success Weekly webinar. Really appreciate it. Go and have an amazing week. And wishing you every success.
The